Hey everybody, welcome back to Barter Hordes. My name is Robert, and today we're here for match day 9 of the Barter Hordes Cup. If you have no idea what that's about, that's fine. I've got a link in the description box to the original short video describing what I'm doing here. But today's match is between the novel Bewilderment by Richard Powers and the novel Hummingbird, Salamander by Jeff Vandermeer, both of which I read several weeks ago. So I kind of had to refresh my memories on these and look at my Goodreads reviews and think back to what I was thinking at the time I read them before I realized they were even going to be matched up together. Bewilderment by Richard Powers. This is the second book by Richard Powers that I didn't want to read. When his big book came out, The Overstory, I didn't want to read it because all I heard about it was that it's a huge book and it's about trees. And I thought, this is just going to be 500 pages of deadly dull tree-hugging torture. And I was so wrong. I just absolutely loved his writing style, and that became one of my favorite books of the year. When this one came out and I read the synopsis, I thought, well, that's nothing like The Overstory, but I'm still not sure. It sounds like a me book, but it was one of the books that was included in the BookTube prize this year, and so I just happened to pick it up early because I received a copy of it early. The book is about an astrobiologist named Theo who has a young son, Robin, who's 9 at the beginning of the book, and Theo's recently lost his wife. Robin's lost his mother in a car crash, and they're both dealing with the aftermath and the grief of that. And Robin is a special needs child in the sense that he's very bright, but he has a lot of anger issues and uncontrollable rage and a quick temper and things like that. I'm not in any way an expert, but several people have suggested that he's autistic, and he may very well be. But Theo is having a hard time balancing work, grief, restructuring their life, and he's really hesitant to put Robin on any kind of medications, which is understandable. One of the things that has happened in the United States is probably an over-reliance on quick diagnoses and medication for children. And Theo wants to find an alternative around that. And so he's spending time with them. They're camping. They're spending a lot of time in nature. Instead of bedtime stories, Theo tells Robin, he makes up a planet basically from his scientific studies. And that's their bedtime stories. And the book goes on, and gradually they are introduced to a colleague of Theo's wife's who is doing some biofeedback experiments that he believes might actually help Robin. Now, this is an aspect of the book that a lot of people have really hated. They think it's crazy that a scientist would forego the opportunity to prescribe a medication for his son, but would jump into an experimental biofeedback trial just because the biofeedback loop happens to involve the thought patterns of their lost loved one. I don't know enough about any of the science to know whether it's complete hooey or not, but it has really angered some people about this book, which I didn't know at the time I read it. I've since read a lot of negative reviews that think he's got the autism thing all completely wrong. And that may very well be. And so this comes with a giant asterisk, knowing that I don't know enough about that to make an informed judgment on that aspect of the book. That said, I love this book because the writing, just as in The Overstory, was so remarkably good that I just absolutely thought it was brilliant. And the nature writing, the stories of them camping and what they go through together, I found extremely touching. So I rated this one on Goodreads when I first read it 5 stars. Now I would probably have to give it an asterisk because of the other issues that I've learned about other people reacting to since I read it. But my initial reaction was this was just a brilliant book and another favorite. I think Richard Powers is becoming one of my favorite novelists. Now, it's matched up against Hummingbird, Salamander, which I read even longer ago by Jeff Vandermeer. And this is the second or third book I've read by Vandermeer. I read the one he's well known for, Annihilation. And I have to admit, I didn't really like it that much. One of my students absolutely raved about that book. And so I read it on her recommendation. And then I sent her a message on Instagram and said, Emily, why? What do you like about this book? And she goes, oh, how can you not love this book? And so we have very different tastes in books. But Hummingbird Salamander is a little bit of a departure from Annihilation, where it's not as science fiction-y. It's more of an eco-thriller. The main character, Jane Smith, kind of in quotation marks, is given a key to a storage area. And in the storage area, she finds a taxidermied hummingbird and a series of clues that then lead her to a taxidermied salamander. But along the way, there's all these different conspiracy plots and eco-terrorism and a potential apocalypse for the entire planet. And so it's all kind of boiled down together into a thriller. And it was okay. I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't love it. I went back and checked my Goodreads rating on this one, and I gave it 3 stars, which is a perfectly fine book, but not anything that I would want to read again or would recommend to somebody who's just craving something terrific. So for me, this was an easy decision. I'm going to be advancing Bewilderment by Richard Powers, fully aware that some people who may even be watching this video will think that I'm completely missing the point of how bad his book is. I read it. I loved it. That's my judgment. We can disagree. It's okay. But that's the one I'm going to be moving forward into the next round. Now, next week, match day 10 is between The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki, which I am reading right now, and Harlem Shuffle by COLSON Whitehead, which I read several weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. And so next Friday, hopefully I will have the Ozeki finished long before then, and so I'll have another video for you next Friday. Those of you who are watching these videos, let me know if you like this format, this series. It's not getting a lot of views. That's not really a be-all, end-all. I'm not trying to make a career out of being a booktuber. But it's not getting near as many views as some of my other projects in the past. And so I don't want to be talking into the ether when I don't need to be. But at the same time, if you're really enjoying this format, I'm fine with it, and I'll keep going at least through this first year of the Barter Hordes Cup, and maybe continue it next year, maybe not. But I'd like to have some feedback from you all on the series itself. And in addition, any feedback on the books, Bewilderment or Hummingbird Salamander. If you read one or both of those, what were your feelings about those books? And I'll talk to you again next week. Bye, everybody.